to Takedown MMA. I'm Evan Herzog of the Fight Magazine, Albert Rosales of Grinders Fitness. We are back here on Roku TV and ibtv.us for another week of MMA talk. We're going to start off by discussing the welterweight division, a division that's kind of been in limbo a little bit because of the champ, injuries, amongst other things that I'd like to get into with Mr. Tyron Woodley. But the UFC this week has kind of given a nod to the fact that they're ready to start moving the division along, whether Woodley's ready or not. A couple fights that they've announced or that are highly, highly rumored to get signed here within the next week or so. Darren Till and Wonderboy Thompson is official for UFC Liverpool. That is Darren Till's hometown and or his homeland, I should say. And I just think, I'm going to right off the bat, this is too much. It's too much, too quick, I think, for Darren Till. But I want to get Coach's thoughts on it first.
Well, I don't necessarily think that it's too much, too fast. I think Darren Till is legit. I think he's a legitimate fighter. I think he can hang with almost anybody in that division. The problem I have is with Thompson. That guy is a style matchup nightmare for everybody. Like, it was kind of the same way when Lyoto Machida came out.
Right.
Like, nobody could figure out his style, that karate style, like his movement. He's so fast in and out. He's hard to find. The other problem is the karate strikers. Lyoto kind of went through it a little bit. You're kind of seeing it with Thompson a little bit too. Is they tend to be a little bit boring because they're such counter punchers that
point fighters, right?
Yeah, and if you can't hit them, and yet they're only hitting you one shot at a time, it kind of turns out to be a slow fight. Now, Wonderboy, I think when he opens up, he's freaking dangerous. Like, he's a problem for a lot of people. I do like him personally as a fighter. Like, I think he's a really, really good fighter. But style-wise, man, that's a really, really tough fight for Till. Just style-wise, we saw the problems that Tyron Woodley had.
In two
with
fights
Thompson.
against
Yeah,
Thompson.
Like they weren't the most exciting fights.
10 rounds of.
Yeah, they weren't the most exciting fights.
A little bit sleepy.
But what we did see, we know Darren Till has power. Okay, and we know that Wonderboy can get hurt, that he can be hurt. We saw
Woodley dropped him a couple times.
Yeah, Woodley dropped him 2 or 3 times. Between the two fights. Yeah. So, his chin is a little bit suspect. Maybe it's not suspect. Maybe Woodley's just really.
We're gonna say Woodley's like the Incredible Hulk, though.
Yeah,
too,
he does. He does hit really hard, but Darren Till hits hard too. So who knows what we're getting out of that? But it's gonna be a tough fight.
I think size-wise, I think this is a great matchup for Till because I wanted to see him against someone a little bit bigger. He's a guy that he's missed weight as well at 170. He's a guy that maybe we'll see here in the next year and a half. He'll be a middleweight. One of those things where he's working out more. It's just harder to come off. And when we've seen, if he misses weight again, we've seen the UFC kind of force fighters up into those upper weight classes. But I like this fight because Thompson's big, as in he's not like a huge jacked person, but his length is something new for Darren Till.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me about this fight is how can Darren get to the inside? And I said I thought it was too much too fast, and that's just because of who Wonderboy has fought and the stage that Wonderboy has fought on for the last 2.5 years, being the first guy to finish Johnny Hendricks. Now, Johnny Hendricks now, in hindsight, but maybe that was the start of the down. I mean, he had never even been knocked down before, and Thompson finished him quickly, and so I think it might be too much in that aspect, just because Wonderboy's so calm, so cool, and striking is his life. Now, where I think Till has to show us his, involvement in the UFC to kind of prove me wrong that it's not too much too fast, is I want to see what those 4 years in his teenage years being spent in Brazil did for him in his ground game. We've seen him kind of controlled on the ground when he went to that majority draw with Nick Dalby, but can he throw out the the game plan of I'm going to knock everybody out, because it's very hard to do against Wonderboy or any of those karate style fighters.
Right.
Can he throw that out the window and show us something new on the ground?
Well, the problem is getting Wonderboy to the ground. Because I don't think Darren Till has the wrestling that Tyron Woodley has. And
Right.
we saw Woodley couldn't really take him down. Okay, the only time the fight hit the mat was when Woodley actually dropped him. So
Right.
He's gonna have to win the fight on the feet. Honestly,
You think so?
Like, I just can't see any other way that goes different. And my big thing is I just hope it's not like the Woodley fights. Like. You have to respect what Thompson does. You have to respect his striking. You have to respect his power. So that makes you a little bit cautious. Plus, he's in and out so fast, you can't really put your hands on him a lot, and that always tends up to kind of end up being a snooze fest.
Right.
Because now one guy's too cautious, the other guy's not really throwing strikes, and that was a kind of a problem I had when he fought Woodley. Was Woodley caught a lot of crap for those two fights, and people talking about how he's boring. And I never really understood that.
How else do you fight him?
Woodley knocked Thompson down 3 times.
Right.
But he's boring? What did Thompson do in those fights? You know what I'm saying? Like, Thompson didn't do anything. He didn't throw as many strikes. He didn't land as many strikes. And he certainly didn't do as much damage. So how is it that Woodley's getting all the blame for being the boring fighter? So to me, it's more of the style, the karate style. That's just kind of the way those fighters kind of turn out a little bit, So... I think Till's going to have to knock him out. I do. And I think he can, but he's got his work cut out for him.
I agree. And, thinking back on the matchups, I think Wonderboy has kind of... I agree. He's definitely to blame for the excitement of those two fights as well. But I think maybe as fans we're a little bit harsh on those guys. I think they neutralize each other very well too. And how else do you
too
fight?
much respect between each other?
Right. And I think that's going to be the difference. And I think that it could make an exciting fight. I think it's going to be an exciting fight that Wonderboy ends up winning for reasons that I'm about to say. But I think the difference between Woodley as a champion and his game plan against Wonderboy matched up against Darren Till and his game plan being the up-and-comer, headlining a show in front of all of his own people in a main event. I think he's going to throw caution to the wind a lot more than Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley worked and had to, we know what he went through to try to become the champion.
Right.
And we've seen kind of, whether you like it or not, what he's done to stay the champion.
Right.
Calling out fighters that have no business fighting him, etc.
That's what all the champions do these days.
Right. And it's kind of jacked up in that way. But, I think if you see that, I think that's where we'll see the difference and maybe where this fight will be more exciting than those two title fights. I think Till's going to feel the pressure of the hometown crowd to get behind him, and I think that's going to be detrimental to him because I think you have to fight Wonderboy in the style that Woodley did. Explosive here and there,
right.
And very cautious. But if you just start coming in side of Thompson, he's going to pick you apart.
Right.
And his kicks are devastating. And
well,
so
to me, the fight that should have been made was Darren Till and Colby Covington. To me, that's the fight that should have been made right there. They're both young, up-and-coming prospects. They're both trying to crack into the top, the upper echelon of the division. Like, to me, that's the fight that you should make. Or even if you switch around, give Colby Covington to Wonderboy because Colby doesn't respect anybody.
Right.
So I have no doubt that Colby would go right at Wonderboy. I think that would be an exciting fight.
I agree completely.
I think he in his mind, he thinks he can just go through anybody. He can just walk through anybody.
And he has for the most part so far, but whether you love him or hate him, I don't tend to like him. I don't tend to hate him. But
it is what it is, but I personally, I think Covington and Darren Till should have been fighting. And we've seen a little bit of talk between them here and there, too. So, but I thought that was the fight that should have been made rather than Thompson.
I think all of these, I think this should excite anybody that's a fan of that 170 division that was kind of like, man, what's going on? What's going on? We're picking up steam, and I think these fights, whether they happen now or later, I think we're seeing a lot of setup for the next 2 years. I think we have so much to cover in the welterweight division. We just spent 10 minutes on Darren Till and Wonderboy Thompson. So jump back in with us on segment 2. We're going to pick up right where we left off. We're going to discuss the rest of the welterweight division. Evan Herzog of the Fight Magazine, Albert Rosales of Grinders Fitness. Catch us on RBTV or IBTV, sorry, geez. It's been a long week. I just got back. A whirlwind trip to the Sweet 16 basketball tournament. So IBTV.us and Roku TV. This has been Takedown MMA segment 1 for the week. Get right back to a segment 2 we're going to pick up.